You're watching ChillyBoy Productions. My name is Larry ChillyBoy Chilson, and this is my Pride Month celebration review for God's Own Country. Now, before we get into this review, make sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button down below so that you can chill with me on each and every one of my latest videos. Every year throughout the month of June, I celebrate Pride Month here on the channel by reviewing and covering queer films that have not been covered on the channel previously. And my final pick for 2023 is the Francis Lee romantic drama, God's Own Country. In Yorkshire, an unhappy young farmer is living with his grandmother and sickly father. He numbs his frustrations and pains with heavy drinking and casual sex until a Romanian immigrant worker sets his life on a new path. As I said, the film is directed by and written by Francis Lee and stars Josh O'Connor and Alec Sicarino. Now, this was one of those big gay dramas, those romances of the time that just slipped me by. It came out in 2017, same year as Call Me By Your Name, both of which were getting huge praise and big buzz. And while I fell in love with Call Me By Your Name, for one reason or another, I just never watched God's Own Country. So I had to rectify that issue this year for Pride Month and finally check this film out. And oh, am I happy I did, because God's Own Country is a delight. What Francis Lee is able to construct here is actually really beautiful because we are put into a setting and a landscape, a place that we don't usually see in these type of films. We're dealing with farmers, poor farmers in a very rural town, and the son is into guys. His sexuality is never fully defined, and Johnny, played magnificently by Josh O'Connor, is a really conflicted character, a really interesting, deep, flawed main protagonist. He's rude, he's kind of mean, he's a little bit racist, and it all stems from his home life. And you get the feeling it kind of stems from this idea of him not fully accepting all of himself. And of course, in this context, it does heavily stem from the expectations put on him and his father getting sick at a young age and him having all of the weight that brought put onto his shoulders. But what I like about the film is that it's not really focused on Johnny finding himself, really, when it comes to sexuality. It's not about finding acceptance amongst his, bigoted farmer, white grandma and father. That's not really ever brought up. It becomes this unsaid truth and this really touching moment by the end. And I just love that it was handled with such subtlety and beauty. But Georgi, a Romanian immigrant, oh, first of all, who wouldn't fall for this man if he came to work on your farm? Well, once again, a very interesting character, one that is very hard-nosed, but has a really soft and loving and quite forgiving side to him. We definitely get that enemies to lovers trope here because there's a lot of butting heads, particularly because Johnny insists on being a little bit racist. But they turn, kind of that racism and, well, bigotry into terms of endearment. That F word has been reclaimed here in today's society, and they reclaimed it here in God's own country because Georgie said, I know what you are, Johnny. You hear? But these two actors put it all on the line in a really vulnerable performance for each of them. It is very steamy. We have some of the wildest sex scenes I've seen. These two are rolling around out in the mud, fighting for dominance in their first sexual encounter. Then we just see them chilling, everything on display as they have a casual conversation. If you don't know by now, well, I'm here to tell you. Josh O'Connor has never said no to a role that gets him butt-ass naked in front of the camera. We've seen Josh get naked in more films than Ana de Armas at this point, okay? But the interesting aspect is that while these scenes are definitely sexy and, we got these two very attractive actors, they also feel uncomfortable until we settle in. The entire film feels uneasy and uncomfortable as these characters feel each other out and understand one another. But ultimately, it does become a story of growth and self realization and love. I absolutely adore the ending of this film. I was about to be crushed. I was like, what are we doing here? Why? Why? But this film chose that really nice line of not oversimplifying queerness and not giving us this storybook ending that so many people have problems with, but also not being tragic, not being the story of abuse and not being accepted and pain the entire time. It actually blends both of those. It gives us that love story we want in the most unconventional of settings, but demonstrates the hardship of just life. Life is effing hard, y'all. And that's what God's own country really puts on display. And then when you compound that with an underlying queerness, obviously, it does add extra obstacles to an already difficult situation. Francis Lee directs the film beautifully. It's a really subtle and stunning script. The cinematography is absolutely gorgeous. I loved God's Own Country. And I'm so disappointed that it took me this many years to finally get around to watching it. So that was my review for God's Own Country. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below and subscribe to the channel so that you are always up to date on all of my latest videos. Also, join in the discussion. What do you think of God's Own Country? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.